If you want your ex back, you can't just show up on their doorstep and ask for a second chance. That just doesn't work. You need to start slow and rebuild attraction in a natural way. And that is where texting comes in. But how can you make sure that they actually respond? Well, as a breakup coach for almost 15 years now, I know the types of messages that exes respond to, and the ones that get left unread. So here in this video, I'm gonna go over all of the different ways you can approach your ex via text, and along the way, we'll go over some general rules about texting your ex that are very important to keep in mind if you do want to rebuild that connection with your ex. So let's get started with text message number 1, and that is the sincere question text. Now again, if you want a second chance with your ex, you need to give them that sense that you care, that you have, special insight into them as a person, and that you're interested in what they have to say. But if you just came out and said that, it would come across as very intense, not to mention kind of weird. I mean, who just says, I care about you, out of the blue, at least without an ulterior motive. So this, of course, is where the sincere question text comes in. It shows your ex that you know things about them that no one else knows. What you're gonna do is basically just ask a question about something that you know is important to your ex. A question that you know will get them talking. So for example, you could say, hey, I finally watched Love is Blind. What was the deal with that Henry guy? Such a jerk. Now, obviously this can feel a little basic, a little transparent, but it actually does work for one simple reason. Your ex wants to talk to you, even if they won't always admit it. They don't know how to have a conversation with you that doesn't devolve into drama or serious relationship talk. But if you give them a reason to converse, most exes are gonna take it. Now, of course, your question will vary depending on, who your ex is as a person. Obviously, the example that I mentioned is a question that you'd only ask you if you know your ex is really into the show Love is Blind and that you'd never showed interest in it before. But what should you ask in your message to your ex? Well, the key here is just think back on the conversations that you had with your ex. What's something that they used to love to talk about for hours? What's a topic, that always came up in your conversations? Or something that, you never showed interest in that they're obsessed with? If in doubt, ask them about it themselves. Most people love to talk about themselves more than anything else. And you definitely do want to make sure that when you pick a question, it's an open-ended question. So basically, you don't want them to be able to just answer it with a simple yes or no. It needs to invite a longer discussion. So, saying, hey, did you get that job? That's not a great question to ask. It's closed. But you also need to keep it simple. You don't want it to sound like a job interview. So something like, what are 5 things you've done in the past week that have made you happy and why? Of course, that's also a bad question. Not only does that kind of thing come across as unnatural, but you're basically giving them homework to do. So here are a couple other examples that can be great icebreakers. So you could say, I'm thinking of making a career change. Do you mind if I pick your brain really quick? You were always better than me with that stuff. Or, I'm just getting into Fleetwood Mac. I really love that album Rumors. I was wondering if you knew why they broke up. Or even, hey, help settle a bet for me. Is there a reason that they say love in tennis instead of 0? Again, these sound lame, but really you're essentially playing to your ex's vanity here by asking them to talk about something that they're passionate about, which is a great way to spur on the conversation. If your ex is, kind of a know-it-all, then this is definitely a great approach to take. All right, and text message number 2 is the things have changed text. Now, many people who want their ex back work really hard to show them that nothing has changed, that everything is just as it was before the split, and that if they just come back, by tomorrow, this whole breakup is gonna feel like a distant memory. But this definitely doesn't work for a few pretty obvious reasons. Firstly, things have changed since the breakup, and because of the breakup, often pretty dramatically. And the truth is, that's a good thing. I mean, think about it. As good as things may have felt in the weeks leading up to the breakup, there were obviously some huge, deep-seated issues in the relationship because, people just don't break up for no reason. So by pretending like nothing has changed, all you're gonna do is show your ex that you don't want to deal with those issues, that you'd rather just pretend like they never existed. But how about, doing the opposite? Should you maybe dive into these issues and try to sort them out with your ex? Well, actually, no. Now is definitely not the time to have those kind of conversations. Right now, you're just trying to reconnect with your ex, but you do need to do so in a way that feels real. So what you need to do is basically embrace the change. And you can do this by showing your ex that you have changed since the breakup, and so has your life. And you achieve this by breaking the pattern of communication that you've built up with your ex over your time together. So maybe you used to call them a pet name or send a bunch of emojis, or maybe your messages were really short and to the point. But whatever pattern you've built, break it. Show them that you're not the same person that they thought you were. And if that's a little bit too abstract, then just show them how your life has changed since they broke up. Do something that they'd never expect you to do, and then tell them about it. So, maybe you're a real homebody who's never left your hometown. Tell them about a trip to Japan that you're planning next month. Or maybe you've always, hated country music. Send them a selfie of you at a hoedown. I know this kind of things feels really simple, but it can actually have a pretty profound effect on your ex. Because on one hand, they're going to find it interesting and intriguing that you've changed. And this, on its own is going to make you more attractive to them because it makes you feel more exciting and new. But it can also lead to some negative feelings as well. Because even though they know that the breakup is going to change things, seeing it happen so quickly can create a real feeling of sadness in your ex. When they get your text, they're going to be hit with a strong sense of loss. And for many exes, that's going to be enough to make them come running back to you just to put a stop to that bad feeling. But do remember, overall, change is actually a good thing. You're not trying to go back in time to before you broke up. You're trying to create a new relationship together, and your ex needs to see that. All right, and text message number 3 is what I call the sense memory text. Now, this is a powerful text that you can send to your ex that will just make them think about a romantic moment that you two shared in the past. So you could say something like, hey, I was just on a road trip and I passed that little bed and breakfast we stayed at on our spring break trip last year. Remember we had such big plans and just ended up staying in bed all day? I still think about those blueberry pancakes. Now, don't go into too much graphic detail here. You simply want your ex to start thinking about that romantic moment that you shared together, and then just let their imagination do the rest. Now, the best way to do this is to recall very specific sense memories of the experience. In this case, the pancakes at the bed and breakfast. And if your ex seems receptive to your message, then you can delve a little bit deeper and get a little bit more steamy with things. But again, you don't want to go too far, right? You don't want to get into sexting territory. Remember that the key here is subtlety. The goal of these texts is to use memory to evoke certain powerful feelings from your time together. So to do this, we're just playing off your ex's positive memories of the relationship in order to transport them back to a better time when the two of you were still together. Think of that passing scent that reminds you of a past lover, or a song on the radio that takes you back to high school. Really, the power of the senses can't be overstated, and that's exactly what we're tapping into here. But just to warn you, you don't want your ex to see through this one, so it's great to tie it into, a seemingly random event, like you coming across some old photos or a chance conversation. This makes it seem a lot more likely you don't have any, sort of ulterior motives going on. And remember, you don't want your ex to know that you want them back, at least not at first. You're just trying to open the lines of communication, take things slow, and remind them of your amazing chemistry. Text number 4 is the inside joke text. Humor is such an important part of seduction, and it's something that I think can easily get lost when talking to an ex because, often things are so tense. But if you can inject humor into the conversation, then you can really lighten the mood and remind your ex why they fell in love with you in the first place. Now, we've already talked about the importance of showing your ex how things have changed, but let's not forget to show them what stayed the same, namely your sense of humor and that connection that the two of you share. So with that in mind, you just need to dig deep into some old inside jokes that you two shared that are going to make them laugh. So think of a funny moment that you shared or a line from a comedy movie that you couldn't stop quoting. Just make sure that these jokes aren't at your ex's expense. Things, of course, can be a little touchy right now, and the last thing you want for them is for them to think that you're trying to make fun of them or doing it to hurt them. Text number 5 is what I call the elephant in the room text. So this particular text message is for more specific situations, so it definitely shouldn't be used by everyone watching this. Namely, it's really only useful if you do need to address an elephant in the room. Now, this might be the case because, your relationship ended on bad terms, if they've told you not to contact them since the breakup, or if there's been, significant tension that still needs to be addressed. So basically, if you get the sense that the other messages on this list would come across as phony, because there's too much tension between the two of you at this point, then the elephant in the room text is going to be a better approach to take. So you want to start by acknowledging the current situation. Like saying, hey, I know that things between us ended kind of suddenly. Or, hey, I know it's been a while, but I just wanted to touch base. Or, I'm not sure if you're still open to talking to me, but basically, you just want to show your ex that you know that things aren't exactly perfect between the two of you right now, and you don't want to just sweep that under the rug. Honestly, it's surprising how much just a simple acknowledgement can change your ex's mood towards you. And then from there, if you feel it's warranted, you could offer a brief apology and explain how things have changed for you. You definitely don't want to get into a huge discussion here, but do listen to what your ex has to say and then take it from there. And if they don't respond at all, that's also okay. Try again in another week or two. It may feel like a defeat, but even if they don't respond, it can set you up for success next time because your ex will know that you understand the situation. All right, and message number 6 is the I'm happy text. So remember that you want to offer your ex the same things you'd offer a new partner. So instead of saying, I'm broken and only you can fix me, my life without you is worthless, you want to send the message that, I'm happy, I'm living a great life, and I want you to be part of that. But again, don't be too obvious about this. You want to get this message across in a very subtle way. So at some point, when you're texting your ex, they're going to ask you how you've been doing lately. And this is when the I'm happy text can really come into play. So instead of just responding with, good or no complaints, you want to take this opportunity to really get the idea across that you're thriving without your ex. So maybe you say something like, it feels like everything is really falling into place lately. Or maybe, I think I've really just turned a corner. Something like that is a lot more descriptive than just saying, I'm good, how about you? But it also creates a little bit of intrigue for your ex. They might wonder what exactly you mean by it, but don't elaborate unless they actually ask. It's great to give them some space to actually wonder what exactly you've been up to lately. Now, you can also be more specific here. So you could let them know about the progress you've made towards a personal goal, or just something extremely fun that you've been up to lately. So maybe, I finally got my pilot's license. It's so amazing knowing that I can go just about anywhere I want now. Now again, you don't want to lie here. Your ex knows you and they'll see right through it. So that's why it's so important to actually be doing exciting things at this time in your life, not only to impress your ex, but because it's genuinely going to make you happier and more confident in general. All right, that just about does it for this one. I wanted to keep it short. I do have more text messages to share with you over at breakupbrad.com. So go there now and watch that video on my website, breakupbrad.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and commenting, and I will see you guys next time right here on YouTube. Bye for now.